And I'm Joel.
We're back from Emerald City Comic Con, and we are podcasting it up / live streaming it up. That's what we do here, ladies and gentlemen. We make videos. We chat it up.
We do.
But
it's our bread and butter. It's the whole reason we got to go to Seattle.
That's right. But one of the things that I wanted to talk about Emerald City Comic Con and how we felt and what all this stuff, we'll get to that. But for now, I thought we'd talk about running DC Comics. And it's funny that the thing about that is it's doing great. DC Comics does not need us in any way. We would be in the way as far as its success right now. But
they're one of the strongest they've been in a very long time. They pulled out of the DCU slump. They managed to get back a lot of the fans they alienated with the New 52.
Yep, despite the fact that it's still in the New 52 and a lot of the holdovers from New 52 are still there. They're just kind of like they're playing fast and loose with the restrictions that New 52 imposed on continuity and story and everything.
Yep. Look no further than Wonder Woman. Look no further than Roy Harper in Green Arrow right now. It's like, wait, did all the stuff I hate still happen? Yes, no, maybe. It's up to you.
Right. Well, I mean, like, whatever. I mean, like, the fact is, it's like DC editorials went like, hey, I don't know if you know this, but it's all fake. Which is, like, on one hand, it insults the readers and it insults the long-term fans and it frustrates us because it's like, yeah, I know it's fake, but the point is that you're supposed to take it seriously. But on the other hand, they're like, yeah, but, like, if you hate it, then fuck it, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
And they're not wrong. But, yeah, so I wanted to talk about this because it's like, all right, DC's doing great. What if it wasn't? Or what if they just said, like, Joel, Sal, you're running it now. What do you do? How would you run DC Comics? What would your...
First off, if they gave me that pitch, I'd be like, who are you? How did you get into my house? Like, what's happening? Does Dan DiDio crawl through our windows and go, hey, guys, guess what?
Yeah, more or less, you just, like, Mr. Oz just plucked everybody from DC into their into his little room, and it's just up to us to step in and run it. We get an email from DC fans, and she's just like, you gotta help us.
Oh geez, I don't think if I'm up to this, but all right. So first things first, Jonah Hex gets a new book. In fact, it's not even bi-monthly or bi-weekly. It's every day. It's a new Jonah book every day.
Yeah, 5 days of Jonah Hex. But, like, would you bring back Jonah Hex? And if so, how would you make it viable? Let's say that we have to be each other's editors. You gotta convince me, and I gotta convince you. Like, what do we do? How is Jonah Hex gonna be useful?
Right, like I said in my in our unsellable characters episode, I would use Harley Quinn to piggyback off the back of him with. I would give her a time travel adventure where she teams up with him. Palmiotti can write it because he clearly loves both those characters, and then Jonah just comes in the present and he hangs out, and then you can try and spin him off into little side adventures. You could even put him on a team here and there. In fact, I think he could make a lot of sense on the Justice League of America team as it stands right now, because he's just a guy. He very much fits Batman's thing of like, we need regular everyday people to challenge these gods. And you know what, Jonah? You'll do the dark fucked up shit I can't do.
I guess that's the idea, is that he would be like the X-Force, like Black Ops squad. I feel like Jonah Hex would be more suited to a Suicide Squad, but...
Yeah, well, but I mean, he'd be like, I don't deal with no this bomb in my head shit. Waller, you can go fuck yourself.
Yeah. Well, I think the idea... You get a real Snake Plissken thing if he's, like, waylaid, and then he wakes up, and he's got a bomb in his head, and he's got to keep doing... And he's got to work with these guys. Like, he becomes the Rick Flag.
I like that. That could be really good. Be like, back in my day.
Yeah, and they're like... And, Boomerang's like, oh my god, can this Yankee shut up?
Yeah. Oh, you mean back in the Wild West, where it's like, back in the Civil War. Wait, which side were you on, Jonah?
Exactly. Oh, you mean the days of dysentery and slavery? Cool. Yeah, let's take our cues from this walking fossil.
Which, again, it would be funny if you teamed up with Harley Quinn, too. Just because, it would be this great, overly optimistic young woman and this cynical old guy.
Right. All right, so I'll take... Yeah, okay. Well, then you can greenlight... Yeah, all right. You can have your Jonah Hex and the Suicide Squad or your Harley and Jonah series.
There you go.
We got to call it something, though. It's got to be like Hex and Harley or something like that.
You did it in one, man. I also like your Snake Plissken pitch.
Yeah.
Right there. You could basically have, like, Jonah Hex does America. Like, he's got to drive across America for some reason, which is kind of what Palmiotti did when he brought him into the future the last time. So that story had already kind of been told.
Right.
But you could do it again. The one reason I could see you shooting it down, there was like, hey, remember Red Fox?
Yeah.
Or Red Wolf or whatever the hell his name was.
Red Wolf, yeah.
He was on the Occupy Avengers now. Remember him?
Well, the trick is to make him interesting and worth a damn. Which was the problem. I
really liked that book, his solo, but you knew it was never going to make it because it was such not a superhero story.
You know what's funny?
It was a cool Southern noir.
Red Wolf was interesting, but it wasn't nearly as good as Marvel 1872. Which was just
that was great.
A good book that they canceled, and then, well, they had to cancel because it's part of the Secret Wars line, but they end it, and then they're like, oh, but don't worry, this minor character will take center stage. Like, F you. How about just do that book?
Remember the Amazing Stinger they left that on, too?
Yes.
Where Wild West, Deadpool, and Punisher show up, and Punisher is a reverend, and, like, Deadpool's got all these scars all over his face, burn marks. Like, we're looking for our old running buddy, Steve Rogers. We heard he's been killed.
Yeah, no. Yeah, that's...
And hell's coming with us now.
This is actually, by the way, inspired by... Someone jumped into our chat, or the ComicPOP Facebook page, which you can go to by going to facebook.com/ComicPOPofficial. But... it's also in the description box of this video. But yeah, so like somebody said like, okay, you got to run DC Comics, you got to come up with a whole slew of books, and like, what are you keeping? What's an ongoing, and what's a mini?
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's a good idea. The Jonah thing, I will say, that's a mini. Even though I love it, I'm too close to the material. Let's make that a nice mini.
How many issues is your mini?
How much did Hawkman, Adam Strange, and how much did Adam get? I think they got 5, didn't they?
I don't know. I would say I would round it out to 6, but all right, yeah, you can have 5 issues to do as long as you can fill a trade. You got 1 trade.
That's and then we're filling 1 trade.
And are you going to bill it as a mini, or are you just going to be like, we're only really working towards 6, but if it keeps going and it sells great, we'll keep it going.
Let's do the Marvel thing with that, where it's like, it's 5 right now. We've got a beginning, middle, and end to it, but if people like it, we got ideas in the tank to keep it going.
Because I like billing things as miniseries. I like being like 1 of 5 or 1 of 6, because it says to your reader like, you can stay. Like, this is going to end, and
right, you don't have to trade wait.
Yeah, you don't have to wait, and like, you can feel justified in buying it because it's not just being inflated or prolonged for no reason.
Right.
But all right, so we resurrect Jonah Hex and maybe give him a bubbly, adorable sidekick, and
just because I like him, damn it.
Yeah, and why not stick him on?
People can't tell me no.
Yeah, and why not stick him on the freaking Suicide Squad?
Because that's fun. They take anybody.
Yeah, it's true. I had a similar Harley pitch where it was called Harley and the Outlaws. And you just take and you just have Harley lead her own team of the Outlaws.
Interesting.
And you make up the Outlaws basically of any number of supervillains who are it's basically like a more hopeful Suicide Squad book.
Right. She had the gang of Harleys for a little bit. I haven't read in a while. Are they still around?
I assume they are, actually. But
they were popular enough to get their own mini-series, so there you go, gang of Harleys.
Yeah. I had a couple of ideas that basically boiled down to if the character doesn't necessarily work, team them with another character and see if that works. You know, like that. I had a book called Shazam! Brave and the Bold.
Ooh.
Where if you want to see Shazam, it'd basically be like Marvel Team Up, where you take Shazam, and Shazam is in every issue teamed up with a different DC hero.
Interesting.
Or villain, and you basically have that be the series. So you assume, like, all right, you know, Shazam, because, like, look, I don't believe in Shazam. I think he's a boring character. I don't think he sells books. But you have to, I think, lump him in with characters that other people find more interesting. And maybe you kind of force Shazam to develop characteristically so that by, like, the end of issue 12, he gets, maybe you can get an original series out of him. But for the most part, just team him up with other characters.
I speaking of Shazam, I would steal one of the best ideas Young Justice had, and that is I would make him join the Teen Titans or some manner of young team, because he's a young person, but he turns into an adult.
Right. No, I like the idea of Shazam kind of being like the leader of the Titans, even though he's an adult hanging out with all these kids. Like, it basically would look like Batman running the Titans, you know? So it's like, just like, there's nothing creepy or weird about that, except the fact that he's a kid.
That's why Young Justice was so great. It's like, okay, and Shazam will be your new den father now. Oh wait, you're actually younger than all the kids you're looking after.
Right? No, I like that. So all right, I yeah, I think I'm gonna You know what? Let me think about like if I have any Titans pitches, because if not, in our lineup right now we've got the Jonah and the Suicide Squad, and we have Shazam, and I think on the Titans. So it should be like we'll just call it the Teen Titans and just stick Shazam on the team.
That's a fun one.
I wouldn't change it. I would just leave it. Like leave it be the same. Would you make it the same team, or would you add? Would you shift the roster a little bit?
I like the team as it is now, honestly.
Oh, with like Beast Boy. Would you keep Starfire despite the fact that she is not a teen?
That's a hell of a thing. Is I feel the reason they kept her on that team is because she's the den mother in the movies now, in those little animated movies they're doing.
Yeah.
I think Starfire deserves to at least be on the Titans. Hell, if not, I think Starfire is ready for the Justice League because she's so powerful. Why
That's true.
She...
Yeah, she should be on the Justice League of America because Batman's like, I know you.
Yeah.
Like, my surrogate son used to bang you. I used to come by the mansion all the time.
Yeah, really. Hey, you want to join my team to help evil extraterrestrial threats?
Yeah.
And everything. I mean, you're an alien. We already got one alien, so there you go. Although then again, I think that's Batman's weird non-human team. Even though he has a bunch of people who stretch the definition of human.
That's the thing. You know what I'm going to say? I'm going to throw this out there. I'm going to go back to the Jonah Hex and the Suicide Squad. He goes in the Suicide Squad. The first arc is him rejecting the Waller notion entirely. He figures out how to get the bombs out of his team, and then you switch the book, and then you call it Jonah Hex and the Outlaws.
Because that's a nice play on
him
like
being
Wild West.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Boom.
That's fun. I like that.
And then that way you can still have a Suicide Squad.
You know what would be great too? Be like, hey, you're Diablo. I used to know a guy named El Diablo.
Yes, he did.
You know, I know like your great-great-grandfather or something. And then like who are some other Wild West characters you could get on there? Sheriff Power. Have him like meet the descendants of all the Wild West heroes and do like a modern day take on that even.
Yeah. If you did Jonah Hex and the Outlaws, then you could like you do an arc of them being cool, and then you do a crossover where the Suicide Squad is sent to kill the Outlaws.
Love it. There you go. There's a whole thing right there.
But that's kind of like my idea of crossing over things. I had another pitch that was developed out of a discussion that the guys and I had from back issues, where we talked about how the Tamaranians in Final Night have no planet.
Yeah.
The Tamaranians have had 3 planets of theirs destroyed. And so it's all, and I think Ben makes a comment where he's like, listen, most people would say that they are destined to be nomads, that they can't have a home. Like if you lose your planet 3 times, nobody wants you. Like it's somebody out there does not want you to have a home. So my idea is, why not just embrace that concept? And the book is called Wayfare, and it is about the last vestiges of the Tamaranian race, kind of like going through the DC Galaxy universe.
Ooh,
and
DC Cosmic.
Yeah, and trying to find a home, and B, like dealing with the problems that beset an arc, more or less. I mean, like, everyone on that ship is the last of their kind, and they're hurtling through space that has apocalypse in it. So, I mean, I know that...
And Dominators and lots of other evil shit.
And Sinestro Corps and Red Lanterns and shit. So, like, it's just a planet. It's just a book about this displaced race of beings that are trying to find a place to call home. And so... And I would call that, by the way, a mini-series. I would think that's like a 12-issue mini.
That's very strong, especially because we don't really know all that much about the current DC cosmology right now. There are no new gods. There are no like Forever People book that kind of like deals with that.
And you don't really know much about the Tamaranians either, except for except that they're kind of like Klingons, but with better tech. I mean, it'd be interesting to see that kind of idea, especially divorcing the Tamaranians from Starfire.
The one we know, yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be funny where it's like, Tamaranians, you're a bunch of sexy Klingons, aren't you?
Yeah,
Please
I'd be
don't
down
call
for
us that.
But that's one book that I would launch that's just like, okay, well, there you go.
That's pretty slick. We had another idea we were toying with before we started because we were talking about what happened in Superman today.
Right.
No spoilers for those who haven't read it yet. But it got us thinking about a lot of characters who were basically retconned out of existence, never to be seen again. And while a lot of them have come back for DC Rebirth, wouldn't it be cool to have a whole team that's basically just, the Forgotten?
Yes. So your pitch is the book, The Forgotten. It's just characters that were retconned out of existence that find themselves together and fighting for their very existence.
Well, you see, I see it as that, but I also see it as like a cool Justice League arc wherein, the Justice League has to fight all these characters who got taken away by crises or retcons or just genuinely creators not giving a shit.
Yeah. Would you put Static on the Forgotten?
Oh, man.
Or would you save him? Because I think I think there's places for him. I would obviously stick him on the fucking Teen Titans.
Maybe Static will be like the Killer Frost of the Forgotten, the guy who's like, no, I started out evil, but I think I need to come back to myself. I need to remember who I am.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Have him be that guy. Who else would be on the team of Forgotten? Remember Forerunner, who was like a Dini Palmiotti creation who was supposed to be so important in Countdown, and then you never heard or saw from her again?
Yep, I'd put Forerunner on there. I'd put Aztec on there.
Oh, yeah, Aztec, man. And you could kill Aztec and no one would care.
Right? Although Grant Morrison might take issue with that. He's the guy who created him in the first place.
You could put a lot of characters. You could put Animal Man on there right now, which is sad. Hi, guys.
Hello. I gotta go home. My wife is calling.
man, I feel so bad about Animal Man because that Jeff Lemire book is so sick awesome.
Yeah. Ooh, their main villain is Superboy Prime.
Yes, there you go, man. Dude, he could be on the team or he could be the villain of the team, Superboy Prime.
Equally, because if he's on the team, he's trying to redeem himself. If he's not on the team, it's just he's a big bad guy.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of places you could go and a bunch of forgotten characters. Ooh, who was that guy from Convergence? Who was
Telos!
Yeah, dude, Telos is in that fucking book. He's in the Forgottens, and he got forgotten recently.
Screw it. You know what? Put Superboy Prime on the team and have their main villain be Telos.
Excellent. Be like, I tried so hard, but no one loved me, and I got forgotten.
Yeah, fuck you, Telos. I guess Talon could be on the Forgotten.
Oh, that's sad. But hey, Talon isn't quite forgotten because as long as James Tynion's writing books, he'll show up for a few seconds every couple years to remind you he exists.
God damn it.
Azrael was a guy who was forgotten for a bit, but he's
right now on the Detective Comics book again.
He's back now. See, he went from being forgotten. I would say Pandora, but she's not forgotten. She's dead. She's gone.
Yeah, no, she was vaporized, but she also exploded in the same way that people disappear to go to Mr. Oz's little jail thing. So maybe she's in the jail. I don't know.
What about the Question? We haven't seen him for a bit.
I would save the Question. I would put him on something.
Okay, who would you put the Question? What's your Question pitch if you got?
I guess I'd put him on some kind of like do a book like DC Noir where it's just like hard-boiled detective stories. It's almost like a pulp crime series that seemingly doesn't have like a connection. The only one who does see a connection is the Question.
Who's in that book? The Question, obviously.
Renee Montoya.
Yeah, Constantine. Even it's like you could probably put him on there. He's
that'd
pretty
be cool.
hard-boiled.
Yeah. What's the other guy? Dan Turpin could be on the team.
Yes.
In that book.
Bullock. Put Bullock in there.
Harvey Bullock, no question. Yeah. Let's see. So yeah, but DC Noir is a book that we would sell.
If you have a trench coat, you can be on the DC Noir team.
Yeah.
If you own one, you can be on it.
Exactly. If you monologue to yourself in the rain, you are on DC Noir.
Dude, put Gordon on there, man. Gordon was Batman for a little bit, so it's clear he can fight crime more than he's currently doing.
That's true. I would bring Gordon back and do him. Well, no, he could be on that team, but I'd like to do a mini called GCPD.
Yes, I loved the GCPD series when they had it. Gotham Central. I'm shocked they never did anything else with that.
Yeah. In the same vein, I would actually roll out a whole bunch of minis where it's like about those places. Like GCPD would be a book. Star Labs would be a book. The Daily Planet would be a book. We'd have a book called Atlantis, which is just about Atlantean politics.
just people every day in Atlantis. What do they do when
it's
you're
just
not
about
Aquaman?
like the whole like geopolitical issues of Atlantis. Equally, I've got a book called Amazons, which is just about Themyscira and
Which
and
they
like
technically already are kind of doing now, aren't they? Kevin Graveau is doing an Amazon book right now.
that's right. So we got that, and of course Arkham would be a book, which is
Oh man,
it would basically be like Serious House and Serious Earth only all the time, or the freaking Arkham like Tombstone subplot from the Arkham Asylum video game,
Yes.
but all the time, where it's just about like the gothic, horrible mental health nature of Gotham or of Arkham.
You know who you make the star of that book? You make Lockup the star of that book. Have him come in as like a regular workaday security chief, being like, you know what, I'm gonna fix this place. You know, I'm gonna be the guy who actually gets Arkham working. But then as the series goes on, you see him go crazier and darker and more obsessed until finally at the end he's just an inmate in the asylum.
That'd be cool. Also, you could reflect that. You could do a lot of things with an Arkham book, like examine mental health and how it's treated in this country, and examine. You could do character studies. It could be like. You could structure it such that when you're like looking through the book, like you get kind of like Watchmen, where you turn the page and it's normally a comic book, and then you get like a psych profile.
Yeah.
Just like you get in there, every character gets like a psych profile page, where it's just a little description, and you get a really really deeper insight into who they are.
I love that idea. You know who actually did a great take on what you're saying? Like, kind of broached it, but it was just an annual, so they didn't have a whole book to work with it.
Yeah.
Marguerite Bennett, when she did that Batman annual #2, she actually let us kind of hear from just regular crazy people who are in Arkham, not the supervillains.
Oh, that's awesome.
And the regular crazy people hate the supervillains because they're like, we can't get normal help here at Arkham, because it's all the celebrity like inmates that take all the doctor's time and everything.
Yeah, and the Joker's always breaking out, and we got to deal with the riots that happen here.
It's like, I just got my regular schizophrenia here I'm trying to get under control, but I can't get any help here at goddamn Arkham, and apparently it's the only mental hospital in the state.
I could also imagine that, like, if you ever were released from Arkham, once it's on your fucking permanent record, like, you're never gonna start another life.
Oh, you mean hell on earth? You were an inmate at Arkham?
Yeah, exactly.
You must have done something really fucked up to go to Arkham. No, I was depressed. I just tried to commit suicide one time, and they put me there for a little bit. Did you know the Joker? Nah, man, he was in another wing.
Nah, man, he didn't deal with my boring ass.
Yeah, that's really good. Dude, yeah, someone who was at Arkham trying to start a new life, but that keeps getting them in trouble.
That'd be great. Another one I had.
I don't know if any of these would sell, but I'd read the shit out of all
Right,
of these.
these are all pretty sweet. I'd bring the Doom Patrol back, and just reintegrate them into the DC universe. DC.
They're in a weird place, aren't they? The Doom Patrol, because they tried launching them several times in the main universe before eventually just being like, okay, fine, you got your own goddamn imprint now.
I like it though. It's a really solid series, and it could be in the DC universe if they wanted it to. So
hey, here's one for you. He might be a forgotten, but he might actually be really good. Plastic Man. What the hell's up with Plastic Man?
There is literally nothing with Plastic Man, and he would be awesome. It would be great to see Plastic Man someday.
Jeff Johns created him in Forever Evil, saw the accident that turned D'Lo Bryan into Plastic Man, then they did nothing with him.
Yeah. So,
what's D'Lo Bryan been up to? Because he was clearly created. Let's check in with him.
You know where I would stick him? I have a book that combines two titles that I don't think either would sell or they have an issue. I love the Justice League International series from the old school ways of having like Booster Gold and like Fire and Ice and Blue Beetle and shit, like the fun of Justice League International. But there's another series that people love that like can't sell for shit, and it's Justice Society of America. Yeah. So I would smish them together and make a Justice Society International series where it takes most of the Justice Society guys and some of our favorite Justice Leaguers that don't get enough credit, like Martian Manhunter and Plastic Man, and put them on a team and just
That's a good idea.
See how that runs.
So you got the comedy young guys and the respectable elder statesmen.
And you just and you play it like Justice League International used to be, where it's like very lighthearted. They're dealing with like brand management and their headquarters, and they're dealing with, maybe there is some like heinous shit in there. Like the Maxwell Lord thing was always on the undercurrent because he was a bastard then. But like you deal with that tastefully. You have a good writer working on that. So there you go. Justice Society International.
I'm surprised they haven't pulled the trigger on a new Booster Gold book in the last, but I think it's because they were developing a sci-fi show, then they just stopped.
Yeah, I guarantee you that's what it is.
Because he still hangs out around the periphery of certain stories, but they just don't pull the trigger on giving him a book.
No, I have a book for Booster Gold, by the way, and it's how to resurrect a team that I hate.
Oh yes,
it's a book called Booster Gold and the Legion of Superheroes.
Ah.
You've just because he's from the future, and they're from the future, and you put them together, and you have him run that team. He's like, you guys have such great brand management, man. You all got matching rings. You've got, like, marketable powers. You have all
sexy ladies. Let me be your manager.
No, and also, you all suck. I was lost. When I joined the Justice League, I was just like a face in the crowd. But with you guys, I could be the Superman of the Legion of Superheroes.
That's a hell of a pitch right there.
So it's just the beginning of Booster Gold when he joined the Justice League. Like, I can get people to pay attention to me, like, but just doing it again, but with this team of characters that, number one, is a huge fan base, and number two, I don't know how to sell.
Be like, hey, Legion, you guys are the Hufflepuffs of the superhero community. If I join you and just underperform, I'll still be the greatest Legionnaire who ever lived.
I'm gonna be the motherfucking Harry Potter of Hufflepuff. I'll take it. It's better than being
like, no.
It's better than being Neville. So yeah, there you go. Booster Gold and the Legion of Superheroes is another one. This is my idea of, like, just take a character that, like, has a rabid fan base and team him with a group that, like, has an audience but just doesn't have the wheels to get off the ground.
Yeah, that's a hell of a pitch. I like the one. Yeah, how come they haven't teamed up Legion and Booster Gold? They're all time travelers.
I know. It just seems like a weird. Seems like a weird miss for people.
I think that's got to be writer tunnel vision. Like, you don't even think about.
Think about it. Somebody said Neville gets his moments. Yes, and so does Booster Gold.
It's true.
That's the point. Is that, he is a forgotten, character. I would put him on the forgotten if I didn't have such a dynamite Legion of Superheroes pitch.
And Neville has a hell of a fan base, and Booster Gold has a hell of a loyal fan base.
Yeah.
So it's not actually an insult to say Booster Gold is the Neville of DC.
Exactly. Let's see. There was also another one. The Birds of Prey. I would just stick Black Canary on it and call it Black Canary and the Birds of Prey, and just make it more fun. Like, maybe play with the band angle, but, like, just. I don't know. I'm not
in a band anymore.
I don't think she's in the band anymore.
I don't think she is. I liked the current Birds of Prey thing back on the Birds of Prey, but my only problem is it's not Gail Simone writing though. This needs Gail Simone's touch.
Yeah. No, I would just stick Gail Simone on it. Just be like, you're writing it.
There you go. Just write it like you never stopped, in the same way Greg Rucka is writing Wonder Woman like he never stopped, and all these other writers. Dan Jurgens is writing Superman like he never stopped.
Yeah. I think there are too many Lantern books. And
somewhere Benny and Rob are sneering at us right now, but I agree.
So I would just make a book like 52, and it's called Lanterns.
Right.
And maybe you have, like, John Stewart, and he's our ride-along character, but he's just, like, passing through, and he's, like, taking inventory of all the Lantern Corps.
Just anything with John Stewart, please.
Yeah, but I'm like, I think there's look, once you introduce like all these cores, you just go, no, like, screw it. Just put one book, and because you don't want to spend, like, you're not going to spend a whole series on the Indigo Tribe, man. So just, like, he pops in, maybe there's a core of everyone in the core, but the point of the book is it's called Lanterns, and there's just all these, and you kind of snipe in on all the cores in one series. That way you can grow it. That way you can, like, make it, like, kind of build towards some kind of big epic conflict that requires all of them. Or you make it Kyle Rayner who's the ride-along character, since he's the White Lantern. And you go from there.
Didn't he do that for a bit? Didn't he try and build a team that was made up of all the different...
I think so, but it didn't...
Spectrum guys. It didn't take.
And I think it was just because of brand management. Like, I think they just didn't... if you call the book Lanterns, and it's just... you make it like it looks pretty sweet, and you promise you're gonna have one character you can get into, and then and every issue you never know where you're gonna be next. I think that's a way to manage your characters.
And it's a nice way to, again, further flesh out that DC Cosmic thing. Although I feel if you want to read DC Comics, Green Lantern is really your only way to do it. I had a pitch but this was before they did the Jessica Baz thing where they kind of took Green Lantern back to its space cop roots and made it a buddy cop thing, of which I quite enjoy.
Yeah.
So Hawkman, right?
Yeah.
Which is how many great pitches start with, "Hey, Hawkman," right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
He's a space cop too, or at least he was in one of his many different iterations. It's hard to keep track of.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Yeah, he was a space cop. Him and Shira, they were space cops for a bit. They were also Egyptian royalty and aliens and all sorts of other stuff.
Yeah.
Here's my pitch. Let's do a series where Hawkman does something. He tries to stop like a bunch of intergalactic terrorists, but it turns into a giant shit show. And like the Hawk High Command says, "Oh, you know what, K-Tar, you went too far this time.
You wrecked 20 cars!"
Yeah, you wrecked 20 cars, K-Tar. Give us your badge and your mace. What, you're off the force." And so you get like hard drinking, like down on his luck private detective Hawkman, but in space is the thing. So you do like space noir stories with him, and you find out, actually, here's the thing. He didn't actually screw up. He pretended like he screwed up so he could get kicked off the force as part of a big sting operation because the Hawk government, like the Hawk police corps, is actually corrupt, and this is K-Tar trying to take him out, man, from the outside. Like Serpico, but with Hawkman.
Okay, all right. I'll give you 4 issues to make Serpico with Hawkman survive. We'll have to put somebody awesome on it, like Phil Jimenez or something. But
yeah, you would need one hell of a writer, because that's like space opera stuff and like cop procedural you got to put together. You would need a unique motherfucker to write that book. Like, I just have the pitch, and even I wouldn't know how to do it.
Yeah, most of these pitches, I'm like, this is a cool idea. Now give it to somebody talented, because I have no goddamn idea how to go with it.
Yeah, really. Have someone who knows 3-act structure and characterization and can place it in cool stuff.
Yeah. That being said, I have a pitch that I think you're really going to like.
Okay.
Because apropos the Hawkman Serpico series. The crime syndicate has broken out and they're gone, right?
Yes.
And they're biding their time. Nobody knows where they are. Batman knows where they are, though. And he knows there's nothing he can do about it. He can't deal with these guys. But he calls up Jason, and he has Jason contact the crime syndicate and then join them under the pretense of he's sick of, the goody two-shoes. He's sick of
sick of Bat Dad's bullshit.
Yeah, it's basically like how Grayson joined Spiral.
Right.
And it's called Red Hood and the Crime Syndicate, and Red Hood is like is a double agent for the crime syndicate, and he is funneling info to Batman / the Justice League. So you get to know the crime syndicate a little more. You get to see them, because here's the thing: the crime syndicate fucking sells. If Forever Evil's any indication, like, people like the crime syndicate, and it's kind of fun to see, like, something to that effect.
They're a cool group, and even too, if you got someone who's not Scott Lobdell to actually write a competent Jason Todd, you could have a moment where, like in every great undercover story, where he's like, you know what, I'm starting to sympathize with these guys, and I see their humanity, and I see the things that made them turn and be evil, and I think I can turn them back if I try.
And that's the thing, is that, like, Jason knows, like, Batman knows Jason knows this, and he's like, no, you're the perfect person, because you've been there. You've been there, you have a great alibi, and above all else, I trust you. Yeah. So, Red Hood and the Crime Syndicate. It's basically just taking Red Hood and the Outlaws, but then I want to use that Outlaws title, so you join the Crime Syndicate instead.
Again, man, there's a lot of cool shit you could do with Red Hood as long as Scott Lobdell wasn't writing. I know Caitlin, Benny, and myself argue all the time because they actually really like what's happening in that book currently.
Mm-hmm.
Which, hey, I dig the idea of a Dark Trinity. You got Artemis as a stand-in for Wonder Woman, you got Bizarro as a stand-in for Superman, and Red Hood as the stand-in for Batman.
Yeah. Similarly to my Lanterns pitch, I have because here's the thing: if we're running DC Comics, we gotta scale back on the books. We're getting too many returns, and we have too many. We're giving people too many choices. I mean, like, here's the thing: is that they love what they're getting, but rather than having 2 Lantern books, why not just a book about lanterns? Like, if we got a book, that's people want to experiment on, like a mini series, we got a mini series. I promise you, will be over, so you don't have to worry about like spending your money.
Trying to do the Valiant thing of being like, look, less is more ultimately, and we won't overexert ourselves, because that's the big thing about DC right now. They're turning out quality, but you gotta wonder at this breakneck schedule that they're doing it, how long until their, artists just have full-fledged breakdowns and can't do it anymore.
Exactly. And furthermore, the fact is they, with our initiative, we are utilizing more characters while still printing fewer books.
Yeah.
So as in that vein, I'm pitching a book called Super. It is either a team book or a book in line with like Lanterns or DC Noir, in which we check in on Supergirl, Superwoman, John Henry Irons, and Ken and Kong. Every
Power Girl, wherever she's
Power Girl. And Connor Kent.
Wherever the fuck he got
wherever
off
he is,
to.
or he joins the Forgotten. But like,
yeah, there you go. Everyone, I'm hanging out on the Forgotten again.
Yeah, but Super is a book where it's just like there are so many super characters with the crest. What do you do with them all? And you could divide them up and put them on different Justice Leagues. We have quite a few of them. But I say, no, like, play with the idea of these guys kind of being part of like, that crest means family. So why not make them kind of de facto part of a family? And part of the whole theme of family, you don't get to choose your family. The only thing we chose was wearing this crest, but it inexorably ties us all together. So you got to deal with
Bizarro
that.
in there too, even though he's still a super. He might be bizarre, but.
Hell, you make Bizarro kind of like the Gwenpool of the Champions, where like in issue 3, Bizarro shows up. Like the character, when everybody says like, "Hey, how come you didn't fuse this person?" Like, boom, you just drop in Bizarro issue 3, and you're like, "Is he gonna join?" No, he's not gonna join, but he's in it, like, or maybe
they acknowledge his existence.
He's Uncle Chuck, like you see him every once in a while,
Oh, but, God, this guy.
Yeah, oh no, Bizarro's here. Or, oh yes, we need a Bizarro right now. So, Super. That's a book.
Only his mind is messed up enough to help us out here.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, like, limiting the amount of books we put out while still maintaining the quality, and giving more exposure to characters that just straight up don't get the exposure, while also being pragmatic about cost and price. Like, look, we get it. Martian Manhunter books don't sell, but why can't we use, like, Shazam? I get he doesn't sell, but if you make it a Marvel team up book and you put him on, like, you team him up with like Batman, Power Girl, Hawkman, Martian Manhunter, hell, like, everybody has an audience for those. You got the built-in Shazam audience plus the built-in audience for whoever's in there. It's just a way to see those characters.
Here's the thing I was toying around with. This isn't even so much like a book thing as it is a publishing thing.
Okay.
DC Digital,
yes,
which is basically the house that Injustice built at this point, even though they had good books before that and now it's really just Injustice, is such a goddamn good idea.
Yes.
The way they do it, where it's like, hey, you get a little story for $1, and you're going to get it every week, and it all is part of a bigger story, and it's free of a lot of the continuity hang-ups, so you can get it on your smartphone, your tablet.
Yeah.
Why did they stop doing that?
I don't know.
Because it kicks the ass of Marvel Infinite.
Marvel Infinite's a waste of time and money.
Like DC Digital eats Marvel Infinite's lunch. And there was a second there when I was reading Injustice, when I was reading Batman Beyond 2.0 and Justice League Beyond 2.0, where I'm like, this is the future right here.
Yeah, well, apparently not.
No, I'm like, they cracked the code on this. Great writers with great series, great books, based in continuities that people know and love without necessarily having to pick up a comic. Where it's like, look, you don't need to know the last 75 years of Batman. If you watch Batman the Animated Series, if you watch the Justice League cartoon, that's everything you need to know, man.
I agree. I agree that is something that needs to, A, be resurrected, and B, examined. We talked to the top brass. Why did this get canceled? Was it lack of interest, or was it or was it simply we don't have the funds for that? Because now that we've canceled probably 16 books, we now could free up the budget for that. In the same vein, I've always been maintained, there's a strip called JL8. I don't know if you've read it. It's by Yale Stewart. It's an amazing series. I would not, if I were DC, I would not send him a cease and desist. I'd put him on the freaking payroll, and at DC Digital's main site, you give away JL8 the way it is a webcomic. If you want JL8, you go to this website, and what's on that website? Well, it's DC's website, or it's the website where you can pick up all of these different digital books. JL8 you come in for free, and then the rest of the stuff you come in for the and you come in for the and you stay for the other books. But you use JL8 as a fishing lure to get readers in who normally read a webcomic, and worst case scenario is you get his traffic that comes to your website every single day or every other day. 3 days a week you get JL8.
It's a genius idea. And again, I don't know what the new thing for Injustice is going to be. I assume they're going to release it much like they did the first one, where it's like, hey, one a week, for like $1, essentially.
Yeah.
Like they should do that with more stuff. That seems like such a great idea.
Yeah.
You should really embrace the digital market, but like a digital market that you kind of control.
Exactly. You just get in front of it. That's all. You don't fear it or punish it or retract from it. Or recoil. You simply embrace it and then get in front of it. Like you own it.
You know, it would be a smash hit. Like, people are super excited for Young Justice Season 3 coming, right? Tell the untold tales of Young Justice in a digital Injustice format.
Yep. I imagine you can get Weissman to write that.
He's probably got the notes already done.
He probably wrote it already. I mean, yeah.
Don't worry, I got the spec scripts right here. I just need someone to draw it.
Yeah, agreed.
Like, that seems like an easy way to make a lot of money. Hell, that Justice League action cartoon is really great right now. Get someone funny to write that.
Yeah, no, you could comicize Justice League action.
Yeah.
And one more book pitch I have. It's called All-Star League, and it's just the All-Star line, but for Justice League.
Nice.
It's just a no-brainer. Where instead of it being, we got and it's like it's an ongoing story, but it's written by this one creative team, and it's outside of continuity. They can do whatever they want, and it's with the league. And they get to pick what league that is. I just want to hear a strong pitch from, maybe a very small handful of writers, and then just go from there.
That sounds like a winner. That sounds like a great concept.
Yeah. And hey, thank you, Getting Artsy with a Lobster, for being part of this, the super chat. We really appreciate it. And, of course, for your patronage. I don't know how it works, but YouTube offered to open it up, so I did. But thank you,
man. Go. Good job.
Yeah.
You know what else I would do again, and they're making great strides in it already. I would throw more money and more resources behind what they're doing over on the DC fan channel. You and I, of course, have worked with those people very closely, and they are a class act. And I think what they're doing is such a good idea.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. I hope it grows faster than it normally does, because I like working with those guys, and they're just a fantastic bunch of people. No, what they're doing over there is great. I would have a DC-centric podcast that's run by the team, and every week or every month or however long you come out with the book or the show, you have a different DC creator on there, or it's headed up by that. Like, you reach out to Jim Lee, and Jim Lee runs the podcast. And if he only has an hour a month, it's a monthly podcast where Jim Lee hosts the show, and either he and a colleague or he himself just chats about DC and making books.
Heck, you know what? I mean, to borrow an idea from the world of wrestling there, Chris Jericho, he does basically that with his Talk is Jericho podcast, and that's so big. He started his own podcast network off the back of it. You should steal that format. It's a good format.
Seriously, there you go. That's a free one for you guys. You can change that up right now, actually.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, that's an idea, and people would listen to it. Like what Kevin Smith was doing with Batman on Batman. Imagine if they had gotten out in front of that and gotten that over on their channel.
Oh my God. Yeah, if they had just said, Kev, if you really want to talk about Batman, how about getting a whole shitload of free Batman book or Batman merch and just do that shit?
And hey, we will get you Frank Miller. We will get you all the people you ended up getting anyway.
Oh, let me tell you something. I mean, there's a group out there that lives in my backyard who got Frank Miller. And they talked to him for 3 hours, and I'm like,
really?
Why couldn't I be involved in that? Just kills me. For real. But yeah, I mean, one more book. This is it. This is my last one. It's basically Justice League Dark, but it's called DC Afterlife.
Ooh.
And it's just about Dead Man and all the recently dead or currently dead, like recently dead or having been dead super characters like forming a
I
team.
like that because there's a lot of characters you could play around with and be like, basically it's just them waiting around, be like, okay, when are we going to get resurrected? Because everyone gets resurrected here.
Exactly, and they're like they stave off resurrection or they stay away from the opportunity because they're fighting against some like extra. Some afterlife threat or some threat
Necron.
from like Necron is the villain. Boom, DC Afterlife. That's my book.
That's a fuck of a pitch. Here's another pitch I had. This was more of an indie thing that I had in my back pocket, but I think it would play actually really well in DC because you could actually use all the official characters and you wouldn't have to create like stand-ins.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a book that's from the point of view of the henchmen of Gotham, or any place really. Like, actually see the professional henchmen underground and find out they have like conventions and websites and everything and like seminars on how to be better henchmen. And it's like the idea is you only start out as a henchman, but if you put in your work, you put in your hours and everything, eventually you can get a costume of your own and everything and start being a villain in your own right. And have things like, there's secret hidden tricks of the trade as to why these guys keep coming back. When your boss, when the Joker or Black Mask or someone gets popped by Batman, they're not worrying about all the money they got squirreled away, and they don't care because they're just going to be out again because revolving door justice system in comic universe. So that means whenever one of your guys goes away as a henchman, it's a race to get to that guy's vault to try and pocket all the money for yourself.
Yeah.